Howdy, people, and welcome to the 11th Chugcratic Extracurricular Seminar. Joining me today is the Dean of Fabrication, DefinitelyNotChar.
Yes. It's the two principals, the two lecturers who show up for these things. It's great to be here as usual, Rune.
And today we are looking at none other than HasLab Liokaiser. Now, some might find it odd that we're talking about this now rather than back in January, I think it was, when it was first announced and was debatably more topical. But it has been fully funded, so I figured now is as good a time as any, especially since just to rip the Band-Aid off now, I was not one of those backers. I'm not sure any of us have backed this one.
No, and we can get into. I'm sure we are going to get into why in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, like, for what it's worth, Omega Prime is the only HasLab I've backed so far, and that's
Same here.
yeah, and that's mainly because like it's either too expensive, Unicron, or I just don't have any particular attachment to the characters. Like this, it isn't me having a go at the designs themselves or the characters themselves. It's just I'm not particularly attached to them, is all. But this one, even if I was more attached, there are some problems with this set, and as you said, we're going to go over a good few of them.
I have quite a few friends who are very attached to this design, and let me tell you, they aren't happy.
It's unfortunate. This might be the one chance we get to talk about it, so let's crack on. And I'm actually going to start with some context as to who Liokaiser is. So, Liokaiser is a six-piece Decepticon combiner created for the Transformers Victory series. And he's made up of a team called the Breast Force. So named because each member of the team comes with a mini animal partner figure that transforms into a chest plate or a weapon for the robot mode. Where Liokaiser or Liokaiser, however you want to pronounce him, stands out, or at least where the G1 toy is concerned, is that aside from the helmet, almost no extra parts are required to complete him. All the usual stuff like the fists and feet and all that, integrated into the appropriate members of the team. Don't think for a second, though, that this set is easy to find on the aftermarket because of that, especially since one of its members, Kill Bison, is a gold plastic syndrome victim.
Yes, though he did have a European exclusive repaint in, what was it, blue plastic? Or am I
Yes.
getting the theme? Yes.
Yes, this set was redecoed into the Autobot Rescue Force, except for two of its members, Skyhawk and Hellbat. You could technically combine the Rescue Force, but obviously you don't get the full package unless you attach those crane arms of the blue tank robot on the sides of the Gestalt, and those are his arms. It's an amusing result, to say the least.
We will be forever deprived of a complete big rescue.
And I did say that the team is made up of 6 members, though, where the HasLab is concerned. Keep that number in mind for later. So, do you have anything else to say about Liokaiser before we move on?
Well, I quite like Liokaiser as a design. He does fit into all of my personal proclivities when it comes to Transformers design. And the only Western release of a Liokaiser that we'd gotten before this was the Combiner Wars design, the Combiner Wars repaint, which I had held off of because I was hoping it would get a unique mold. And well, look where that got me.
And also, Leozak was released as a BotCon exclusive as a recolor of Energon Starscream.
Probably better things to say about that one, because I am a fan of UT toys, as has been established on this podcast before, many times.
But enough about past toys. Let's move on to the main event, and we're going to start with the team leader, Liokaiser, who, in my opinion, easily suffers the worst of the bunch. The original, I believe, transformed into an F-14 Tomcat.
Yes, you're right on the money, Room.
And the thing is, like, I can understand that they can't stray too close to the real vehicle these days unless they get the license for it. But even in that regard, boy, does that jet mode look rough. Like,
Yeah.
aside from perhaps one of the worst cases of undercarriage junk I've seen on a jet transformer, it also has what appears to be a slope in the fuselage, unless it's mistransformed in the official images, which isn't out of the realm of plausibility, but still.
I mean, the thing is, I can get what they're going for with that slope, because a lot of aircraft have that sort of that ridge back going back from the cockpit that sort of blends it into the rest of the fuselage, but it just doesn't look right, does it?
Looking at the nose, well, not the nose cone, but the cockpit section, it does look like there is a panel that is sticking up that is meant to sit further down, like it's meant to sit flush with the rest of the fuselage.
I'm not entirely sure, because you see those two, what were on the F-15, the intakes. Here they're just like sort of the sides of the cockpit. You see they're aligned with the rest of the fuselage, so I think that is the intended position. And after all, these are the CG renders. You know, if Hasbro is mistransforming CG renders now, then Primus help us all.
And the back looks especially bad because it's just the feet, and you can't make out any jet thrusters whatsoever. It just appears to be a block.
Yeah. It's entirely flat on the back, and it just, yeah, for only the donation of 2 blocks of Energon every month, you too can help save a Cybertronian from Silverbolt syndrome.
He comes partnered with Lion Breast. Yes, seriously, that's the name. And the robot mode is, of course, inspired by the cartoon or the anime, because he has the green helmet stylized like a lion's mane with a white face, as opposed to the original toy where it was a white helmet with a red face. And when you have a team name that they do, your face would probably be red too.
You got out your system yet, Rune? I must say, though, that head sculpt is really rough, though, isn't it?
It looks too wide.
It looks like the sides of the head aren't a mane. They look like fish fins. He looks nautical themed.
Well, I mean, that could be just the color.
No, it's the shape as well. You see it, they sticking off the side. They don't look like they don't read as the mane of a lion. They read as like they're sticking out directly from the sides, like fish fins, in my opinion.
I mean, I guess they do look a bit like gills, but I just bring up the color because, well, it's aqua blue green.
Yes, that too. I suppose
help.
that does play into it.
But I mean, for what it's worth, the robot does have the general design cues of Liokaiser, the up-pointed wings, the chest plate is accurate. You know, it's definitely the better mode of the two.
But that isn't really saying much.
And I believe that unlike the original toy, the Liokaiser head, like including the helmet itself, is now built into the figure itself.
Oh, really?
I believe so, but there will be a trade-off for that when we get to another member of the team, when it comes to extra parts required to complete the set.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He looks fairly articulated.
He's on par with modern Chug standards, really, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, and I will address this because since the project closed, or at least near to when it closed, they did announce that they had updated the chest conversion on Leozak, and there is now apparently an extra panel covering the head in vehicle mode. So there's that. I just wish they had done that from the get-go.
It does seem like a bit of an oversight. It's not really like the Combiner Wars aerial bot, is it? Where the canopy comes down over the head, so it's a bit more hidden. It's just kind of there. Like I said, a whole robot under a jet fighter. He's got Silverbolt syndrome.
And unfortunately, he is not the only one if we're ready to move on.
Yes, I'm ready to move on.
Guy Hawk.
Woof.
What?
Woof. What are those? What are those intake pylons on the side of the jet?
You got me there. This one, back in the day, apparently transformed into a MiG jet fighter.
It looks okay. I'm gonna look at that because that doesn't actually look right.
But as for this version, he of course comes with a hawk breast and stands out for his fairly vibrant color scheme. I mean,
Yes.
personally, I'm not sure he's quite as bad in the undercarriage junk department as Leozak, and at least the actual jet portion looks streamlined.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's kind of balanced out by the massive arm air intake sticking out the side. By the way, it's based on a MiG-35, I think, though it's a bit butchered here, once again. Those arms sticking out just... I could forgive it if the arms weren't there. I would say it's a possible jet mode were it not for the arms. They're just so egregious to me.
I mean, something else I noticed about a lot of these bots is that they feel, I don't know if underpainted is the right word, but it looks like there are some details that haven't been touched up. Like those yellow markings on the wings, they previously had a black outline, whereas that's not really the case here. And I don't know whether that's to be anime accurate or not.
I would assume it's for anime accuracy. The problem is the total anime accuracy direction that we go. If you are omitting design elements from the toys, it ends up making them look kind of bland as actual physical objects. I think those black outlines would have gone at least a little bit of the way to like breaking up the design and making it feel more finished.
Something else about the breast force here that is probably going to be brought up by some people watching this is I would say it's the hollow parts, like the hollow arms. But in all honesty, it looks like that's where the fists go. And I think the bigger problem and more accurate criticism is that there's nothing covering it up.
Yeah. Also, the solution with the... I get what they're going for. They want to have a swivel on the wrist. They want to have a swivel on the wrist and still have it fold inwards. So they've put it on a ball joint, but it seems a bit of a hacky solution in my opinion, don't you think?
You think it doesn't look as neat or something?
Yeah, it doesn't look so neat as it would have been to have the fists on a swiveling platform that then folds in, if you know what I mean.
Do you think that they should have had something to cover up the Liokaiser fist inside one of his legs?
I actually can forgive that, mainly because it's darkened, so it's less obvious. It's not the kind of thing you'd really like if you didn't know this was a combiner toy. You know, if you had no context for what this figure was, I'm not even sure you'd even really be able to make it out from this picture that it was a fist. It's not that big of a deal to me. For me, the biggest issue on this is the hollow arms, at least in terms of like exposed transformation elements.
The one thing I will say is that in trying to go for anime accuracy, the head sculpts are admittedly more expressive than the G1 toy, because the original Skyhawk had a white helmet with a blue face, whereas this one detailed in pink with a hawk beak on the crest or on the forehead. And the chest plate design is pretty cool as well.
Yeah, it's a shame that it has a big 5mm port, big 5mm peg sticking out the front, but it's a nice design. Of course, it comes from the original toy, so I'm not sure how you could have really remedied that, to be honest. With Skyhawk's chest piece, you'd have to I don't know, make the peg removable or have it fold in, I suppose. Or you'd have to rework Skyhawk's what was he called? Hawk Breast?
Yes.
Yeah, you'd probably have to rework Hawk Breast's engineering really to get rid of that peg, I suppose.
This is another figure where apparently they had made some improvements to the design close to when the project was nearly closed. That being an updated chest animal connection, as well as an updated shoulder conversion. Whether that will result in a cleaner jet mode, I guess we'll see. I mean, I won't have the toy in hand, but I guess we'll see.
We will see from the TF World pictures.
And this is not the only one where that applies to, because next, if we're ready, Hellbat, or I'm sorry, Elbat. He's apparently a northerner now.
Elbat? Oi.
Yes, in terms of a characterization, it seemed like this is the guy that stands out, being the Starscream of his own team, even though Leozak himself is the Starscream to Deathsaurus.
It's Starscreams all the way down, really.
This one, back in the day, apparently transformed into a, watch me butcher this, a Dassault Rafale fighter jet.
You're close enough. Dassault Rafale.
Near as damn it. It honestly, I don't know if this is accurate, but it honestly looks like he has a similar alt mode to Needle Nose.
Yes, they're both Delta Wing aircraft, but Needle Nose, at least on the new figure, looks to me like a F-16 Delta, which was a prototype version of the F-16 with a Delta Wing. Though, I'm just going to look up Needle Nose G1 real quick to see what his original toy looks like, because I'm just going off the Legacy figure in my head right now.
He has those big shoulder intakes, which those improvements I brought up with Skyhawk apply to Elbat as well.
Yeah, he does seem to. Yeah, he has the same arm transformation. It's a little more hidden. It seems like on this version. I think the shape of the Delta Wing sort of helps it blend in, but it still isn't very good. And also, I was correct. G1 Needle Nose is based on a F-16 Delta.
And of course, this is once again anime accurate, which means more yellow on the wings. The canopy is red instead of yellow like on the original toy. The head is stylized with the bat-like helmet or bat-winged helmet.
It's very, very Night Lords of him for all the 40K viewers. Honestly, I do like the way his chest, what's the name of his breast force partner, by the way?
Oh God, Komori breast.
Komori breast.
I've no idea if that's even the right pronunciation, and frankly, I don't care. But aside from those improvements, he does suffer the same problems as Skyhawk in that nothing covering up the hollow forearms.
Yeah.
And the same leg construction, because he's one of Liokaiser's arms.
Mm-hmm.
But in this version, he also forms a shoulder cannon for Liokaiser, and we'll find out why soon enough.
Probably the most appealing out of the set to me, purely on like an aesthetic novelty basis.
So if we don't have much more to say on Elbat, so in and of itself, in my opinion, he does look the best just as an individual transformer. But remember how I said that Liokaiser's helmet is now integrated into Leozak himself? Well, the trade-off for that is that we have a new case of parts forming, that being Liokaiser's hips form dual missile racks for Jarugar, which he has to haul in vehicle mode.
Yeah, it is really, really egregious for the combiner whose biggest claim to fame, besides being, a Japanese Decepticon combiner, which is an appeal in of itself, but its biggest claim to fame was it was one of the only combiners in its time to use almost no combiner kibble, and now the entire hip assembly is a separate piece.
Yeah, because on the original, the previous name was Jaguar, and here they call it a Jarugar. But on the original toy, the missile pods or racks or whatever you want to call them actually form Jalugar's legs. And they got away with that because the original set were made up of fairly simple toys, whereas these are trying to be more proportionate, at least in robot mode. And as a result, well, look what we have here.
Yeah. It's actually surprising how I can't think of a single modern attempt, first party or otherwise, that has actually tried to do a totally kibbleless transformation for Liokaiser. Not Hasbro, not Iron Factory, not KFC. That's Keith's Fantasy Club, not Kentucky Fried Chicken. Not any of the big hitters have actually tried it, and it's really surprising.
Of course, this guy comes with a Jaguar breast, and one of the updates they announced with this set was that Jarugar's extra vehicle parts, which become Liokaiser's hips and legs, will be remolded to look like missile launchers, or more like missile launchers.
Whatever that means.
Doesn't exactly solve the problem of them being separate parts to begin with, but there we go.
Yeah. I mean, you can make the argument for Devastator, where his original design always had separate pieces that formed parts of the robot. So it's not really reasonable to expect a new version of that toy to be totally integrated when it was never really designed to do that in the first place. Here it's not really excusable, in my opinion. Especially when, as we've seen, the individual robots aren't exactly much of a balancing factor either.
I mean, if he wasn't part of a combiner, like if he was sold individually, I think he would go down okay, in my opinion. But
he would be solidly okay.
His alt mode, by the way, is apparently supposed to be a racing buggy.
Sounds about right. I have no expertise here, so I can't really comment.
And they're striving towards the cartoon once again with that helmet.
Yep.
I gotta say, I do like his color scheme, like black, gray, orange for the windshields. Looks like there's some decals thrown in.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny when you think about it, because his alt mode and color scheme are quite reminiscent of the rival combiner team, or one of the rival combiner teams from the Victory series, being Road Caesar, because there was also a black and white buggy in Road Caesar, wasn't there?
I'll have to double check that one later. So, if we're ready to move on, Kill Bison, and unlike Elbat, they managed to keep his original name, because when this team was sold in Combiner Wars, they had to rename him Iron Bison. But because this is a HasLab that is not as directly accessible to kids, they can get away with using words like kill and death. But since hell is considered a profanity, they basically had to rename Hellbat into Elbat, unlike before where he was called Fellbat.
I think Fellbat works better.
So as for Kill Bison, the original apparently transformed into a KMW Gepard anti-aircraft tank. And this is another one where the vehicle mode looks rough.
Yeah. You know what it looks like to me, Rune?
What?
It looks like a robot leg with a turret on it.
I wonder why that could be.
Yeah, it's a mystery, isn't it? But it's just, it is so rough here. It doesn't have anything that really. The only reason that we know it's a flak panzer is because it has treads and it has a gun on top. It doesn't, like, if you remove the gun on the top, you wouldn't really be able to know what this is meant to be. It would just be a block on treads.
Would you prefer it if it had a proper armored skirt with a sloping bumper?
I would. I think that would go a decent way to. Like helping the design. I don't know how they would integrate that with the current engineering. They'd probably have to rework it, but I think it would go a long way. I think honestly the most significant factor is just that turret. Honestly, it's so weird. It feels like an afterthought in my opinion. It's a single, like the main turret piece is like one plastic piece that's been injection molded. It's hollow. It sticks up in a weird way, and then it just looks like it's got the guns plugged into the sides, just haphazardly. You know, it looks like someone was in Fusion 360 and couldn't be asked to finish the project.
It honestly feels like I mean, these are supposedly CGI renders, but you could have fooled me because it looks like someone just didn't press the turret down flat against the rest of the tank.
It does. It looks. I don't know why it's sticking up that far. You know, did they like? Was the idea that they wanted it to be able to swivel around for 360? Was that the intention?
I hope so, because as we'll see with Liokaiser himself, the turret is pointing, well, from the perspective of Kill Bison up, basically around.
Yeah, it's. I mean, one presumes it swivels. I think just having that turret sit more flat against the hull would have gone a long way to making this look a lot better.
You know, I still don't get why Kit didn't join this one. And as for the robot mode, it looks incredibly kibble coated. You got part of the wheels stuck to the arms. More of the treads look like they should collapse against collapse flat against the legs, like flush.
Yeah, I mean, devil's advocate. These aspects are part of the original design, so you can't fault them too hard. But it does seem like they could have folded away more. They could have been jointed so that they would have been more aesthetically pleasing. You know,
like there had to have been a way to be able to collapse the treads flush for robot mode and then have them expand back out for Liokaiser himself. And the shoulders look very oddly constructed.
Yeah. It looks like they swivel around at a way lower point than the actual shoulder is supposed to be, and I don't entirely understand why they do that. I suppose it's some quirk of the construction, but like just looking at it from the outside, I can't really see an engineering reason why they are jointed that low. In fact, it seems like it's negatively impacting the clearance for the upward shoulder rotation, or forward shoulder rotation rather, because it's more likely to hit, because it's got less clearance with the backpack, because as the shoulder goes up, or as the arm goes forwards, the shoulder gets closer to the backpack. A very odd design choice there.
He, of course, comes with a bison breast. And, I mean, Kill Bison is probably one of the reasons why people might spring for this set, all because hopefully this one won't crumble over time.
I mean, I suppose, but if you just want to kill bison, there are options out there that even come with the profanity finger.
I guess that's a third-party thing.
Yes, yes.
Because the only other Kill Bison toy was the Combiner Wars one, and that used a Combiner Wars Brawl as the basis, and that was one of the worst molds of that line.
Yes, that is there. Yeah.
And yes, I am aware that Kill Bison's stock transformation sequence ends with him flipping the bird, which I'm sure was a meme that a lot of people were reposting in response to the problems with this set.
Yes.
And of course, a number of the problems with Kill Bison are shared with this guy, Drill Horn.
Yes.
So this guy transformed into a 4-treaded drill tank. I'm not sure there's any real-life model based on this.
No. There aren't really drill tanks aren't really a thing in real life, from my understanding. The closest thing you could think of is like mining vehicles, maybe, but they usually have bucket wheels. So, I suppose you have like underground boring machines, but they don't have treads on the bottom. They have treads going all around them, and they're usually just shaped like a cylinder.
But like I said, Drill Horn suffers the same problems as the Kill Bison. Kibble-coated, odd shoulder construction. I don't think looks quite as rough, but that's mainly because the foot of Liokaiser is positioned in the back where it's somewhat less distracting.
Yeah, I think that goes a long way towards it. Actually, it goes up at the back, so it's more believable, which is not the best term because it's not a real vehicle, but it feels more convincing. The alt mode is more convincing than Kill Bison by a long way.
And also, the drill. I don't know if it spins this time because it couldn't on the original.
It looks like they have like a separate component for the front of the drill. We don't know if that's jointed yet, but it could be. It could very well be.
If nothing else, I'm just glad that they at least picked the drill in a separate color, unlike the original toy.
Yeah, the drill in the original is just grey, which doesn't look the best, I'll admit.
He, of course, comes with a rhino breast, and this is another case where they added some supposed improvements to the set, in that they added wheels on Drill Horn and Kill Bison, which means that originally their vehicle modes couldn't even roll.
Ooh, that's a bit sketch. I mean, I'm glad they did it. I'm glad that they made that improvement. Oh, I've just realized why the arms are jointed that way on Kill Bison.
Why?
Because they want to make Drill Horn and Kill Bison retools of each other, and you see on Drill Horn, the way the transformation works is the arms do a 360, so that they're facing towards so that they're facing the same direction as the front of the chest in vehicle mode. And they're jointed so that the arm swivel is close to the middle of the arm. So basically, Kill Bison's arms are jointed weirdly as a concession for Drill Horn's transformation.
I mean, since they both form the legs of Liokaiser, I guess it doesn't entirely surprise me. but still feels like a bit of a cop-out.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit. I'm not sure if you could really call. I'm not sure if you could really call Drillhorn and Kill Bison retools of each other on the original toy, simply because the engineering was very simplified on the original toys. You can't really say that one thing's a retool of another in that regard. It's like saying all of the aerial bots are retools of each other. It's not really true. They're just similar.
And with that, for the most part, we get to Liokaiser himself. And from the front, he looks okay.
He looks all right. Passable, I'd say.
I mean, he's got the design cues you'd expect with Leozak's wings decorating his chest as well as the nose cone. The wings from Guy Hawk and Elbat positioned upwards. The turret and nose cone of Kill Bison and Drill Horn on the sides of his legs. He looks fairly proportionate, like nothing looks particularly off. Then we get to the back of the figure, and we find Jaguar just chilling there.
Yeah. He's just back there. I don't know why they chose to transform the resin prototype that way. I think it would have presented a lot better if they had just swiveled his head around, and it wouldn't have just looked like he was hanging out on the back. At least it would have looked less like that. But right now, it looks like from the back, that picture, it looks like Liokaiser is a power suit for Jaguar. Does it not? It looks like the end of the Alien movie.
I don't know. It just looks like Jaguar's a power pack for Liokaiser.
Jaguar is Liokaiser's long-suffering conjoined twin. But yeah, not the best look, really.
But like I said, they managed to work in, I believe it was the fists. Shame they couldn't manage the same for the hips.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, we're still going to keep going on about that.
Well, yeah, the thing is, on the original toy, Kill Bison and Drillhorn formed a significant portion of the hip section. But on this toy, they've changed the transformation so that basically Jaguar would have to form the entire hip assembly. Meaning that they sort of made this problem for themselves, where they made it so that Kill Bison and Drillhorn are just the shins, at least partially.
Yes, because looking at the original toy, Kill Bison and Drillhorn stored the thighs for Liokaiser
In their chests, yeah.
And Jaguar, you know who we're talking about, was just the hips. Or a waist guard of sorts. And of course, they tried to work in modern standards of articulation as well, including ankle tilts.
I'm not going to complain about the ankle tilts. They don't seem to be interfering with anything else. But it just doesn't look great, does it?
And I believe that Kill Bison's turret can detach and form a twin cannon for Liokaiser himself.
Oh, well, that's great, isn't it? Oh, is that why it has the weird stalk? Is that why the turret looks so weird? Because it needs to be able to have the clearance to fit into Liokaiser's hand.
It wouldn't surprise me.
And
I'm not sure whether this was true on the original toy, but I believe you could leave the animals attached to the individual components.
I'm not entirely sure about that.
It looks like you can do that with the new version.
Yeah, you can. It does look like you can on this one. Well, we'll see. We know that you can. Obviously, you can for Kill Bison and Drillhorn. but I'm not so sure about Elbat, Elbat, Skyhawk, and Leozak. I'm not sure about them, or even Jalgoar. The boat is out on if you can leave the breast masters on them.
I do want to bring up with Liokaiser in general that you can't Scramble City him. Like, he's not a Scramble City combiner. I don't even think you can swap the limbs on opposite sides.
No, I don't think you can. At least not for Elbat and Skyhawk, because their fists are like facing a specific direction. So maybe you could, but you'd have the fists facing backwards, even if you were able to.
But you know, this set is doing quite a lot as is. So maybe
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say maybe I could cut them some slack at least a little bit.
I mean, Scramble Citying was never an expectation for me when it comes to a Liokaiser toy. If they were to do it, it would be, I suppose, it would be cool if they could make the limbs swappable. But
Well,
like, you know,
you know what? That's what the Combiner Wars one did.
what?
Yeah,
Oh, right, of course, yes. Well, yeah, because it was a Combiner Wars toy.
Yeah, I also do want to bring up that with the Combiner Wars set, there was no Leozak or Jarugar. It was just Desaurus that was meant to be Deathsaurus. It was basically a repaint of Skylynx.
Yeah, it was. It was a repaint of Skylynx, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised that in the set they didn't include a repaint of maybe Blackjack to be the Jalguar of the set. Jaguar. I think that was a bit of a missed opportunity there, but oh well.
Well, I don't think they could attach. I don't think he would be able to attach to that mold's chest like they could with the Optimus Prime Motormaster mold from that set.
I mean, I suppose so, but even then, that wouldn't be that much of an issue, considering that they included who's the yellow guy that turns into a wheel?
Scrounge?
Scrounge. They included Scrounge with Computron, so it wouldn't be, I suppose, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be unprecedented that they would include a figure in that set that wasn't able to combine with the larger combiner and was just its own thing.
Now, for all the grief that we have given this set thus far, I do have to give them credit for one thing, in that, I mean, we've covered the main team members so far, but of course, like the previous, or at least most of the previous HasLabs, there were stretch goals, tier goals, and one of them was none other than this guy, Death Cobra. So for those who don't know who this guy is, because there wasn't a toy of this character back in the day, Death Cobra was a character they created specifically for the Victory anime. There is an episode where Elbat, or Hellbat, fuck it, I'm calling him Hellbat for the rest of this video. Hellbat was to be kicked off the team and replaced with this guy, Death Cobra. Hellbat was to be kicked off because of his treacherous backstabbing ways. Hellbat tried to talk Death Cobra out of it in private, but Death Cobra wasn't having any of it, and the two got into a fight, which resulted in Death Cobra's death. And Hellbat pinned the blame, or framed it, on the Autobot Micromasters in that series. But we never actually got to see a Death Cobra combine with the rest of the Brass Force, which means we didn't even get to see a hypothetical limb mode for the guy. But for this set, he is sculpted as he was in the anime. He transforms into an attack helicopter.
Specifically, he looks like he's based on a Mi-24, which is a Russian attack/transport helicopter.
I'll take your word on that one. He comes with his Cobra partner animal, who, of course, forms the chest plate and a weapon for him. And in reference to the episode in which he appeared, he replaces, or he can replace, Hellbat as an arm for Liokaiser. But if you want to include all 7 members of the team, he also forms a shoulder cannon for Liokaiser. And even then, if you have Death Cobra as an arm, you can have Hellbat as the arm cannon. So really, everyone wins with this set, except for the consumers.
Yeah.
But as for Death Cobra himself, I know what a lot of you are probably thinking. That chunk underneath the helicopter.
Yeah. That doesn't look like a cargo bay. What is that, Rune?
You got me there. You're the military vehicle expert.
Well, according to my analytical eye, my understanding, my knowledge, that looks like some robot legs right there.
Good call. And just to address this, I know that they are working with a design that was specific to the cartoon. There's no toy to work off of. And by the way, if Missing Link ever redoes Liokaiser, I would like to see a Death Cobra in that set, please.
That would be very cool.
There's word of mouth that the partner animal minifigure was at least partially inspired by Earthrise Slitherfang.
Maybe, but I suppose the question is, how many ways can you make a Cobra robot turn into a block? It unfolds and the head comes out of the hood. There's not really much else you can do with it,
Well, I think they managed to pull something off pretty neat. He is pretty kibble laden. You got the helicopter canopy on his back and the helicopter tail hanging down below like a tripod. Since he does form an arm, he suffers the same, well, I don't know if suffers the right word, but he follows the same pattern as a Skyhawk and Hellbat. In there's a fist tucked within the leg, and I don't know whether it's just that particular photograph, but it looks like the right leg is hollowed, like completely hollowed out.
Yes, yeah, it does look like that. It looks like on all of the arm bots in Liokaiser, all 3 of them now. The leg that is opposite to the leg with the fist in it is hollowed out. As we can see from the combined mode picture, you can see that the side that doesn't have the fist coming out looks quite hollow.
For what it's worth, I would like to see a toy of this character outside of the Liokaiser set.
Yeah, I would certainly like to see. I'd just like to see an MI-24 Transformer in general, personally. Though, I would have liked to see. I mean, there's Skyhammer. He's kind of a stylized MIL-24. But my ideal Transformers toy line is yet to exist. So
I do like the green and yellow color scheme. It reminds me of the helicopter from that Minicon 3-pack from Thrilling 30.
Yeah. I've kind of run out of things to say about Death Cobra. It's cool that he's a MIL-24. Not the best representation of one, but hey, it's neat. He's basically of the same quality as the rest of the breast force in this line, that being not the best, not really that good. Possible, you could describe it as. Not worth the asking price. How much was this set going to cost?
Over 300 quid.
Yeah, not worth the asking price of 1/7 of 300 quid.
You know what would be kind of interesting, though? If they actually had the audacity to redeco this team into the Rescue Force, which means they would need to create new characters from Skyhawk, Hellbat, and Death Cobra.
That would certainly be a bold move of them.
they could redeco Death Cobra and one of the jets after the drones from the Power Core Combiners Protector Bot set.
Yeah, could do that.
And as for the remaining two tier goals, we could cover them both at once. Oh yeah, there's sorry, I should have shown this off. There's a Death Cobra as an arm in the prototype shot, as well as a shoulder cannon in the main CGI render.
I'll be totally honest, that's not a very convincing shoulder cannon. Is it? I presume it's supposed to be that the barrel of the cannon is like the opening in the legs.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not super convincing, in my opinion. It just kind of looks like they placed a partially transformed Death Cobra on his shoulder.
But as for the remaining two tiers, we get the nunchaku accessories. That was tier 2. And the display stand, that was tier 3.
I will say the display stand appears to have a pretty nice design where it seems to be made so that you can display all 6 team members at once by splitting it up. Like it splits up into 3 chunks which have like 3 separate, which have 2 stands for each character on them. That's a neat design. I will give them credit for that.
But of course, it is just for 6 members, which means that the 7th, most likely Death Cobra, will be off to the side.
Yes. I suppose you could have maybe Drillhorn or Kill Bison on the ground, and then you can have all of your flying members flying.
And as for the let me make sure I get this right. Electromagnetic nunchaku. That's what we have here. And it's long enough that I believe Liokaiser is able to wield this in both hands at once.
Well, yeah. I can't really. I mean, this accessory is. I can't really fault it. I don't think they've done anything wrong with it. If it's actually got like metal chains between the links, that's pretty cool. It's just a shame about the quality of the figure that's attached to, really.
And I think it may be designed to split because I'm sure there's at least one shot that has Leozak holding part of Nunchuck.
Looks like it.
But you know, the more, I mean, if we're going to be paying over 300 for this set, we might as well get as much plastic in the set as possible.
Yeah.
And one other thing about Death Cobra is that they apparently worked in more leg articulation into the robot mode, for whatever that's worth. And also, all the chest animals can attach to Death Cobra when he's a shoulder cannon for Liokaiser. That is pretty much a set. And after all that, you could probably see why we're not terribly impressed with this one.
Yeah.
It's a shame because, to its credit, it does have to do a lot between the combining and the breast animal gimmick. But I think we can all agree that some parts could have been better executed.
It just seems like a shame considering that the last HasLab project, Fire Convoy and God Magnus, was pretty good. We haven't received it yet because we were both backers. You backed it, right?
Yes, at the very least, we can say that it left a much better first impression.
Yeah, and of course, it remains to be seen how good the actual figure itself is going to be. But it seemed to be engineered and designed a lot better than this set, which is a shame because myself and quite a few other people were quite excited about the prospect of an original mold Liokaiser.
I don't think I was going to get this set either way, but you know what? If there's something for those watching, if there's something for you, like if this did it for you, great. I'm sure you'll be having a fantastic time. But for the rest of us, well, we just have to lament at what could have been, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And with that, the seminar comes to a close. Thanks for joining me on this one. Definitely not Char.
It's a pleasure as usual for you to have me here, Rune. It was great to have a good old moan with you.
Sometimes I wish ID joined these more often.
Yeah, we need someone. We need someone to balance us out, don't we?
I don't even know how positive he is about this set. I guess we'll ask next time we see him. But in the meantime, this has been Runestone, the Dean of Critique.
And definitely not Char, the Dean of Fabrication.
Class dismissed.